But one of the nice things about comics is how long-lived they are and what insight this gives us into various characters and rivalries. And recently in Action Comics, Lex Luthor got a knockout blow that might actually have broke the guy. Let's take a couple minutes to talk about what's going on in DC Comics, how Lex Luthor's ego has been deflated, and how Manchester Black managed to do it. Well, over the last couple of months in Action Comics, Lex Luthor's plans to use Manchester Black to complete Project Blackout has started to come to fruition. But before Lex Luthor could finally implement his plan, Manchester tempted him with some knowledge that Lex's ego could not allow him to pass up. And this would be how Superman actually feels about Lex. Despite his amazing intellect, Lex's ego is really what drives him, and he was absolutely unable to resist Manchester Black's tempting offer. Now obviously Lex is unable to resist this offer, and Lex asks how Superman really does feel about him. Quite honestly, the answer is unexpected and was totally shocking to Lex, because in the exchange you find out he really doesn't care. Despite the years of hostility between the two, Lex is just another problem Superman deals with. He really doesn't give him or any of his schemes a second thought. Let's check out the exchange. Now in the comic, Manchester Black actually asked him, "Want to know what he thinks about you? What he says about you in the darkest moments? You won't believe it, honestly. But if you ask me, I'll tell you." And of course, Lex wants to know. His response really drives a stake into Lex's heart, because he says, "All your years obsessing over him like a lovesick tween and the trillions you spent trying to kill him or make him look a fool, and he didn't think about you at all." Now, this takes Lex Luthor from being Superman's primary villain and his absolute rival to being qualified as just another egomaniac who's trying to define himself through a relationship with a hero. Honestly, this scene had me harken back to Lego Batman when Joker thought he was Batman's greatest villain, and the emotional toll it absolutely took on him when he found out he wasn't. You have to give it to Manchester Black. He absolutely dismantled Lex Luthor in just a couple of sentences and drives a stake through his heart. Luthor has absolutely devoted his life to ruining Superman, and it appears his mortal enemy has never even come close to putting in the same effort, barely giving him regard. Now, quite honestly, this plays into a lot of tropes in the comics and things we've talked about before. Luthor's abilities and brains could have done many great things, which Superman has pointed out, like ending world hunger or stopping other tragedies with the money that he spent trying to destroy one man. There's great irony in this as well, because quite honestly, Superman would have most likely given Luthor the consideration his ego demands if he had just used his talents for good. Now, where Lex's Project Blackout plans ultimately take us, you're going to have to dive into the books. The more recent Action Comics have been pretty good, but I absolutely loved Manchester Black's exchange with Lex here, and how he dismantled the guy in a way that I don't think Kal-El ever could have. The fact that Superman simply doesn't really care about Lex and sees him as just a pest completely crushes his ego and puts Lex Luthor in the place he absolutely never has wanted to be. It was a pretty great book.